Hi, this is Matthew Robert Payne, and God has been walking around my house with me. He's probably been in heaven, but I feel like uh, uh, Adam walking in the cool of the day with God. He's been walking and talking with me, told me that he wants me to come and turn my video on, and he wants to deliver a prophetic word. This may not be seen by more than 50 people, but if you're watching this prophetic word, I'd encourage you to uh, uh, not really pay attention to the background and how professional this video is. But I'd encourage you to listen to the end. And if you liked what it said, please press the like button so I can get some feedback on who finished the video and who liked the video and who was encouraged by the video. I'd appreciate your comments. If you're new to my channel, I'd appreciate if you're subscribed and you can check out more of my videos. Okay, so that's the brief introduction. I'm not sure how long this is going to be. I'm not sure what God is going to say. He's the boss, and so I'll just let him speak. So God says, I very happy to be here with you. Matthew made himself a nice sweet drink, just like that drink is sweet. I want to bring a really comfortable and grace-filled message to you. There's a lot of pastors, there's a lot of preachers, there's a lot of people on the internet saying some pretty amazing things, and there's a lot of people who preach the word of God, and they bring a hard message, really push down hard sort of message. Jesus said the Pharisees used to go to another country and win a proselyte, win a person to the Jewish faith. And by the time they were finished with them, they were worse people than when they were first discovered. And the Christian church, sadly, is full of preachers who can be overbearing and hard. And the Pharisees in Jesus' day used to place heavy yokes, heavy burdens on people to be able to measure up and be righteous. And the Pharisees, the leaders of the day, wouldn't even mix or associate with sinners. The people who really needed the grace and the love of God weren't shown that by the religious leaders. And Matthew has lived a life of habitual sin for most of his life, and he knows the attitude of many preachers and many teachers. And if it was up to them, he would have never been able to write his 120 books, and he would have never been allowed to do 4,000 videos and prophesy over 20,000 people. But thank God, you can thank me that I have grace on people, and even whilst people are in a sin lifestyle, are addicted to some sort of sin, I can still use them, and I can still manifest my presence and my power and my giftings in people's lives, despite their righteousness, despite their practice of sin. And so there's many teachers today, there's many people are bringing the word of God, are bringing even words from me, apparently, that are strict and overbearing and place heavy weights on people. And it's true that I'm a righteous God and I'm a holy God, and I'm a God that judges and has strict guidelines and different things, but I also am a God of long suffering and mercy and compassion. And Jesus said to the disciple that a person should forgive 70 times 70, 70 times 7, and that's 490 times. So if you've got sins that have been forgiven more than 490 times, you're talking about the way that we love and the way that we forgive. If you got reasons why you're in a habitual sin, like you got a demonic problem, or you've got serious trauma issues that haven't been healed and haven't been addressed, I'm not the sort of God that's going to hold you particularly responsible for your sin lifestyle when you're just in many ways self-medicating your pain. Many people, a high percentage of people who are heroin addicts have been sexually molested, and they're trying to deal with that pain. Sadly, many sexually molested women go on and have sex-filled lives and become addicted to sex and be abused sexually. Some of them even entering pornography and prostitution, and continue in a cycle of abuse. And so they drink or take pills or inject heroin to take the pain away. You can't just assume that you can send a girl to rehab and spend a year in a detox and rehab and come out as a different person. There's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of pain. There's hundreds of clients that she has to forgive, and she has to be dealt with the trauma that's happened in her life. Sin and sin management is a complex subject, and there's so many people who are living lives of sin that I love and I'm proud of and I'm happy with, and I'm very happy with Matthew. Matthew has a really good relationship with me, and it's growing every day. In the last couple of weeks, he's been spending an hour each day in conversation as he goes to sleep, and we've been having good conversations. I've been drawing close. I'm really happy with Matthew, and all the sin in Matthew's life hasn't gone. He got over a couple of addictive sins, and he fell back into that, and we're dealing with that, and I talked to him about that today. So if you're a person who is part of the church and part of the body of Christ, and is hungry for the things of God, you may wonder, am I this loving, understanding, compassionate God? Did Jesus fully represent me when he came and was help for sinners and a healer for the brokenhearted? Did he really display who I really am? Am I really a God of grace and love and untold forgiveness? Have I got mercy on sinners, or am I a harsh, judgmental God? Many people judge me for Israel wiping out whole nations and animals, and there was Nephilim, and there was wrong breeding and demonic spirits in all the cattle and all the populations, and to wipe out the presence of the demonic spirit, everything had to be wiped out. But people with no understanding of what was going on judged me for that, and they judged me for some of the things. In recent years, the world has become so corrupt and so sin-ridden that I've become very upset. There's a part of me that you can see if you develop intimacy with Jesus and you develop intimacy with me. There's a side of me that's really angry and full of wrath, and I'm not speaking from that side today, but um, I've reached a stage where if there were no prophecies talking about how the world was going to be treated, I've reached a stage where I would feel like wiping the whole world out. We've reached a stage, the days of Noah, where the world has become so corrupt that I feel like destroying it. But there's so many people that need to be saved. There's so many people that need to come into truth, and there's so much truth that's got to be aligned in the world before I destroy it. That I can't do that, and prophecies prevent me from doing that. Some may ask, here I am. How long is the rapture? How long before Christ returns for his bride? And my question to you is, how long do you want it to be? Certain things have to be achieved, and certain things have to come into alignment. The bride has to become blameless and spotless. The bride has to become unspotted from the world. In other words, the bride has got to be solely focused on me and my kingdom, and not the things of the world and not the lust of the world. And 95% of people going to church are consumed with the things of the world and run after the things of the world, and don't particularly run after me. Jesus identified that you can serve God or you can serve money, and 95% of Christians have decided to serve money instead of me. And you may wonder, where do I get that figure? Well, you can type it into your Google, the percentage of Christians that tithe in America, and you'll find that only 5% of Christians actually tithe. And you'll find that when you look at a certain article that Matthew sees there, it says out of that 5% that tithe, they actually give more than 10%, a good percentage, 70% of them give more than the 5%. So once you've decided to love me with your money and not just your words, you become very giving. But the hardest thing for so many Christians is to let go of running after better handbags and running after better dresses and brand name clothes and technology and all sorts of possessions. And Satan allures, like attracts the eyes of Christians, saying that a lie to them that the more that you own, the more that you possess, the more important you are, the more lovable you are, the more you'll be accepted. And it's a total lie. Matthew's got a few t-shirts and a few pairs of pants and hasn't got a lot of possessions, and he feels really loved. Every night, Matthew spends an hour speaking face to face with me in his bed, and heaven tunes in and listens to the conversation. He's got a very intimate relationship with us, and his possessions didn't get him there. For 30 years, for 22 years, he's given at least 20 to 30% of his income to us. And so it is possible to live on 70% of your income. And in Jesus' day, the Jews that lived under the law and obeyed the law gave up to 30% of their income to the Lord, gave up 30% of their income to the church. to the temple and to Jewish practices. So it is possible to live on 70% of your income, and so it just takes a change of mind. You've got to change your mind into what is important and with you, and you've got to give different possessions and different expenses, different priorities in your life. So the majority of the church, 95% of the church, just in giving, prove that they don't love me with all their heart, and that means that they're spotted with the world. They've got spots, they've got flecks of the world on their clothing, and the church has got to become unspotted. The bride, especially the bride, the remnant of the church, have to become unspotted from the world. So there's a lot of change. There's someone, first of all, has got to bring that message, and multiple people of influence have got to bring that message. Then the people have got to humble themselves and start to serve another God, and turn their focus off themselves and onto God. And of course, there's got to be change in ministries, and there's got to be certain ministries that are doing the absolute will of God. They've got to be walking with me and talking with me and investing the money in the right things for people to be attracted to their ministries and give towards their ministry. So, of course, there's also the fact that 99% of Christians that attend church every week have no idea, or have little idea, of what my son taught. 99% of Christians don't understand the 54 parables of Jesus, and a large percentage of Christians have no understanding that my son had 50 commandments that need to be obeyed. In John 14 and 15, between the Last Supper and when Jesus was taken in the garden, he said 4 times, "If you love me, obey my commandments." It's amazing that he says that 4 times, and 99% of Christians are not aware that he has commandments, and not just love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself, but 50 commandments. And so we've not only got 5% of the world, Christian world, just giving to God, but we've got 99% of the world not actively obeying my son. And so there's a lot of work to be done. Of course, there's also the issue that because Christians, sadly, because haven't been perfected in love, they haven't been the commandments, walking in the commandments will perfect you in love. And you can look up 1 John 2, 3-6, and it says that if you walk in the commandments, you'll be perfected in love, because most Christians, a large portion of Christians, haven't been perfected and refined in love because they're obeying the commandments. They're selfish, and they only care for themselves and don't really care for themselves. So it's really hard to bring a harvest to the world and have people personally evangelize their friends, because they've got no interest in evangelizing their friends. They've got no interest in evangelism. And just like giving and tithing and giving to God is an abhorrent subject to Christians and not a popular subject, so is evangelism. Personal evangelism, evangelizing people, is an abhorrent subject. It's another subject that Christians don't delight in and have got no interest in. So how is the church going to become unspotted? How are they going to turn their interests into being obedient to Christ and being holy and sanctified? And how are they going to save the lost? Because these are things that have to happen before my son returns. These are things that are non-negotiable. So it can go on another 50, 100, 200 years. These things have to be happening. So my answer to when the rapture is, when the second coming is, well, when is it going to be? When are you going to achieve these things? Can you actually do these things? Can you achieve these things in your lifetime? Can this be achievable? And of course, we'd have to come around to the subject that at the moment, the blind are leading the blind. And at the moment, the Christian church is being led by blind guides. And Jesus spoke about blind guides. When he was here, he said, if a blind man leads another blind man, they'll both end up in a ditch. And when it comes to the teachings of my son, when it comes to the understanding of the commandments and the understanding of the understanding of the commandments and the understanding of the 54 parables of Jesus, it's very rare that a Christian teacher actually teaches on the teachings of Jesus. And the teachings of Jesus formulate the narrow gate. And Jesus said, narrow is the gate that leads to life, difficult is the path, and few find it. The fact is, few are finding it and few are teaching it. It's very rare to find a Christian teacher teaching Jesus' teachings. They'll teach all sorts of things, but not the narrow gate. And so we've got to find teachers who will rise up and will be of no reputation and no ministry calling and no following and no popularity stakes and no self-importance. And I've got to start teaching the true gospel and bringing forth the true gospel, because at present the gospel being preached today isn't the true gospel. And so there's all these sorts of changes that have to come into place. I want you to consider this. If my son came and took the church away, and he came next year, and 500 million people were going to be left behind because they hadn't been saved yet, would he come next year, or would he come in 20 years when those 500 million have been saved? It's actually selfishness on the part of Christians that want the rapture to happen tomorrow, because things are getting tough and it's hard to be living. You're living in the days of Noah, and things have become very evil. 30 years ago, being a homosexual was about 2% of the population. Matthew's heard current figures where it's up to like 22% of the population identify that way these days. And the world has really embraced alternate lifestyles, and the conservative, biblically based way of living has been departed from. And the world, by and large, is allowing that, and it's just become so wicked. And so you can imagine how the world has changed in the last 20 years, how it's going to change in the next 20 or 30 years, the more desperate the world will be for a savior. And right now, Jesus has been giving the invitation. I've been giving the invitation to come and evangelize the world and reach the world and come to my son's party. And Jesus had a parable about a king who gave a party for his son, a wedding, and he invited his friends, which are the close friends of him, and they all made excuses and said they didn't want to come. And so the king sent the servants out to get people, and go onto the streets and get people that don't know him. And they went and got them, and then there still wasn't enough. And so he said, go to the highways and the byways and the hedges and get the sinners and bring them in. And people don't realize that we're at that stage right now. We're looking for servants. We're looking for fire starters. We're looking for evangelists. We're looking for Christians who are open to reaching the brokenhearted. And these brokenhearted aren't in the church. They're not in the wedding hall. They're not in the wedding garments. They're outside in the hedges, sleeping under a hedge when you're homeless, gives you a bit of shelter in the rain. They're in the hedges and on the highways and the byways, and they're lost and they're brokenhearted, and they're not going to come to your church. They're not going to have you lead them in a sinner's prayer and then come to your church. That you've got to be their church. You've got to be the person that disciples them and teaches them. And to be honest, the average person doesn't want to attend church because it's full of hypocrites and rude, judgmental people, and they've already experienced rude religious Christians before, and they don't want to go to a whole building full of them. And so the church has got to get over this idea that the unchurched has got to come to them and fellowship with them. The unchurched are quite happy having a relationship with me outside of church. And you'll talk to many of them and they say, I believe in God. I don't believe you have to go to church to believe in God. And if you ask them, they'll say that they believe Jesus was the Son of God. They'll say that Jesus died for their sins, and I'll say that they prayed that Jesus would forgive their sins. They've confessed Jesus is the Son of God. They've confessed everything that's needed to become a Christian, but they just don't want to go to your church and give you money. And they just don't want to join the hypocrites that say one thing and do another. And if you're walking in the commands of Jesus, if you're following Jesus and you're a true disciple of Jesus, and you are walking in the teachings of Jesus, you can call yourself a Christian. But there's a large percentage of Christians that aren't walking and aren't Christ-like. And 1 John 2:6 says, anyone who says he abides in him must walk just as he walked. And that's essentially saying anyone who says they're close to Jesus should behave like Jesus. And this sadly isn't the case with so many Christians that walk this world. So without trying to insult most Christians, when a non-Christian or someone who doesn't attend church call you hypocrites, you actually are saying that you follow Christ, but you don't follow Christ. You don't obey Christ. You don't act like Christ. So when they're saying hypocrites, basically Jesus offended the Pharisees when he called them hypocrites, and now the modern Christian has become a hypocrite. And I don't mean to really be down on you. It's why I encourage you to listen to the end. This isn't intended as a put down, but there's just so far to go. There's so far in your life that you can go. There's so many ways that you can improve. There's so many different things that you can do to improve yourself. And there's such a transformation that you can go through to become everything that you're destined to do. Andrew Womack does a conference, a 5-day conference on finding your life's purpose. And at the end of the 5 days, he does an altar call for everyone to come forward who don't know what their life purpose is. And he says, no matter what state or what city he's in across the United States, when he has that altar call, 80% of the audience comes forward because they don't know what their life purpose is. What's the use of you personally? I'm speaking to you. What's the use of you living your life and not ever being aware of your purpose of why you're here? And Matthew has a service on his website called Prophetic Destiny Blueprint, where you can find out 9 or 10 spiritual reasons, spiritual giftings that I've given you, and that be helpful for you. It won't be your life's vocation, but it'll be what I want you to do with your life spiritually. But you don't have to treat that as an advertisement. If 80% of the Christian church aren't living and doing what they were born to do, how effective is that church at winning souls? So we need an army of people who know Jesus and are walking in Jesus' love, have perfected their love in Jesus to go out and win souls, win people on the highways and byways, and bring them into a relationship where they'll be raptured. They'll be in a relationship where they'll go to heaven when Jesus returns. And they're all around you. And if you could just get over having to bring them to church, get over the saying, don't forsake the gathering of the brethren. That saying happened when the church was meeting 7 days a week and spending 3 or 4 hours together each day. And that saying was said about that: don't ever forsake this type of gathering 7 days a week, 3 hours a day. It was never meant to be used for a person who goes to church once a week. It was said to a church that was in constant revival, and the verse says, don't ever stop living this life of revival. And you can tell that stopped. So that shouldn't be a verse that's used with a non-Christian or a person who doesn't go to church. You shouldn't quote that verse at them. And it's just your own religion. A whole lot of you would do a whole lot better if you weren't attending church. And you became a whole lot less religious, and you learned to have intimacy with me and Jesus and the Holy Spirit outside of church. I really love this world. You may not understand this, but I care for the Muslims, I care for the Buddhists, I care for the Hindus, I care for everyone. And you may not understand this, that the Hindu girls who are being molested by their father, and the Buddhist girls that are being molested by their father, and the Muslim girls, they all cry out to me to save them. They don't cry, they cry out to the Hindu good God, but I get the message and I hear the God. And there's so many broken-hearted people that I want to reach in the world. And there's people that are reaching out to them, and that'd be good organizations to reach out to. I was very impressed with the recent movie Sound of Freedom coming to the world, and I'm really glad people have been made aware of sex trafficking and child trafficking. And child trafficking breaks my heart. 30% of females being molested and raped by their fathers or a father figure in the West and in the East really breaks my heart. I'm brokenhearted. For the brokenhearted, I really care for this world, and I really care for everyone. They don't have to be the Christian religion for me to care. The very essence of me is love, and that's why I bring sort of a hard message to you today because I want to wake you up that it's just selfishness that makes you want to have uh, a rapture, wants you to go home now. You don't want to suffer over the coming years, and you just want to be rid of this world, and you just want to be in heaven. And I want another 500 million people in heaven, and I want the people reached. And so it's come time for me to raise up servants and for me to start to raise up teachers to bring the truth to the people of God. And you can pray that servants be raised up, but you can also equip yourself. Matthew has uh, 5 books on personal evangelism. One of his books is Influencing Your World for Christ, and another book is 13 Tips to Becoming the Light of Christ. You can read those 5 books in the series of those books that you'll find on Amazon, and you can transform your life into becoming a person that can bring the gospel to people and be a living witness of my kingdom. You can do yourself a favor and read the pure gospel, the proper gospel of God, the modern gospel. And you can read that gospel in the 121 books that Matthew published. You can even go to the website in the description tag, matthewrobertpayne.com, and you can read 60 of his books for free on that website. You can download those books. You can print them out on your printer. You can self-publish those books yourself and make an income. I want to change the world. I want to bring change to the world. I want people to be transformed from someone who just says they believe in Jesus to actually being a little Jesus. I want to create a whole lot of little Jesuses in the world that can go out and heal people, that can prophesy to people, that can bring my gospel to people, that can be authentic and relevant in this broken down world. I want to have my light go out to the world. I want uh, thousands and thousands of light bearers going out into the world, spreading my light. And it takes work. Doesn't get done by attending church every Sunday and sitting in a church and hearing 3 or 4 songs and hearing a sermon and breaking for tea and bickies and tea and biscuits and cake and coffee and tea. It doesn't get done by doing that every Sunday. The world is out there. It's on the highways and the byways and the hedges. I've invited the church to reach those people. The church isn't interested. I've invited the church to become unspotted and holy and sanctified. And they're not interested in putting on the wedding garment. They're not interested in becoming personally holy. They're not interested in living a life of righteousness, which is obeying the teachings of Jesus. They're not interested. So I'm going to have to take my invitation to the brokenhearted and to the lost. And you may be a person who doesn't think you're particularly qualified to bring a message to the lost. You can read Matthew's 5 books on evangelism, and you'll find that if you put into practice what those books say, you'll find that the lost will start asking you questions, and you'll find that you'll be evangelizing more than you know. Matthew's going to have a short break where he has to go to the men's room and get another drink. He'll be back in 2 minutes. You may be asking yourself, what can I do? Well, you can read those 5 books on evangelism. You can read the 120 books that Matthew wrote, and half of those books are 99 cents. And if you sign up to Kindle Unlimited, you can read 10 of those books at a time. Another thing you can do, although this would come at personal cost, you can be not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. You can take the link of this and press share on YouTube and share this to your social media and say, this was a really impactful message of God, and I felt that you'd be blessed if you watched it. I encourage you to do that. Here's God encouraging you to share a video. There's so many things you can do, but don't believe that people are saying, seeing my son, and my son is saying that he's coming back in the next 5 or 10 or 20 years. Don't be believing that. If the Christian church got to work in becoming unspotted, if the Christian church got to work in becoming Christ followers and following of all Jesus' teachings, if the Christian church got to work on giving 30% of their income to the Lord, if the Christian church got behind the true ministers of the gospel, if the Christian church had leaders rise up and start to teach the truth, even if it started today, it'd take 20 years to reap the world and bring in the harvest. So don't get carried away thinking you're going to be raptured. If you're 50 or 60, there's a good chance you're going to die a natural death without my son coming. And this is me speaking. I know when my son is going to come back, and I know the conditions for my son's return. And this is me. This isn't a theologian, or this isn't someone who's written books on the book of Revelation. This isn't a Revelation expert speaking. This is me. And you may see an obese, mentally ill prophet that you've never seen before saying that this is God, and you may assume that that's his mental illness speaking, or you can assume that it's actually me speaking and it's actually God. And you'll find that Matthew has carried the voice of 40 or 50 saints from heaven, and he's quite capable of bringing a foreign voice through himself. He's like a really practiced medium, in that the mediums bring voices through. They're not necessarily the dead that they bring through, but they bring through other entities, and Matthew's very practiced at doing that. So you can dissuade, and you can be discouraged, and you can say that this is a wrong prophecy, and this isn't really God speaking, this is deluded. And Matthew would love to hear your comments in the comment section on the video. Or you can pass this on to your friends and say, it's pretty radical, but this was a good message of God. We want to save the world, and my son would have already come if we didn't want those 500 million too. So why would you ask him to come before they've been reached? And how are they going to be reached? Unless you go to them and you bring them in. How are people going to be assured that they're going to go to heaven unless you assure them? How are people going to know Jesus until you bring Jesus to them? How are all those people who say they believe in God and they pray to God each night, how are they going to be assured that God loves them, God cares for them, and they're doing everything right. How are they going to be discipled into becoming better Christians? Unless you do it. Matthew can't do it. He can't leave his house and visit every city and every nation in the world. Preachers in churches can't do it. They're busy running their church and running administration and running staff and paying bills. All the evangelists in the world can't do it because they're busy doing evangelism in their metron and in their sphere of influence. We need people on the ground. We need servants, like it's mentioned in that parable. And the servants have got to go out into the highways and byways, in the lost, into the pubs, and into the hotels, into the brothels, into the strip clubs. And they've got to reach the brokenhearted and touch the brokenhearted's life. We're going to save this world together, but it's going to take some work. You'll get this wrong if you think this prophecy is about selling Matthew's books. Matthew wouldn't have 60 of his books for free on a website if he was interested in money. When I share that the gospel can be understood by reading Matthew's books, you can just pick up any one of Matthew's books and it'll share the gospel with you. Except his 5 books on writing, or his 4 books on writing. I encourage you to share this post. I encourage you to like this post. I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. I encourage you to develop intimacy with Jesus and go after me. I encourage you to contemplate this and even watch this a couple of times. We do want to save the world, but we need you to help. God bless.